Hi, I'm Steve Pond from TheWrap. We're here at the Sundance Film Festival. We have our Main Street backdrop. I have my flannel shirt. I have my wrap hat. But we're not in Park City because this is our virtual Sundance studio for a virtual Sundance Film Festival. And I'm delighted to welcome the directors of How It Ends, Zoe Lister-Jones and Daryl Wine, and actress Kaylee Spaney. Welcome to Sundance, everybody.
Here we are. It's a lot warmer than normal here.
Yes. You've made probably the cheeriest movie I've ever seen about the end of the world. And I know this was your pandemic project of sorts. So how did it come about? I mean, did your thoughts move from we're all going to die to let's make a movie?
Yes. From we're all going to die to let's make a movie. Let's make a movie about all of us dying. I think like everyone, we were so, we were facing so many fears and uncertainties at the beginning of quarantine. And I think for both Daryl and I, both in our work together and individually, we kind of don't know how to channel our emotions through anything other than our work. So,
and in therapy.
Therapy too. Our work sort of serves as therapy historically. So this was no exception. And I think we started to do a lot of like inner child work, and really were trying to have these like dialogues with our sort of most vulnerable selves. And Kaylee was in LA, and we were potting with her, and we were having a lot of those conversations together. And we decided to put it into a narrative and then to try and shoot something in quarantine. I think because, we didn't know how else to kind of find faith in such a bleak moment, especially as artists.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, Kaylee, what had your quarantine been like before this started?
I mean, I think Zoe and I were definitely on the same wavelength during that. We were just coming off the high in Toronto filming The Craft. So that was a whirlwind. And then, we were on sort of that kind of became sort of a spiritual journey trying to talk to our inner child. And we were going on social distance walks. And Zoe and I were, I think like a lot of people like experiencing a wave of emotions and working through depression and trying to figure out how to channel it into something, like Zoe said. And it was funny. Remember, you guys were talking to each other and you're saying we should make a movie right when I text you, I want to do a movie. We need to put this somewhere. So, and we always joke, Zoe and I joke about how I'm mini Zoe, and we just brainstorm. But the whole thing was, we were figuring it out as we went, because everything was so up in the air and we had no idea how it was going to turn out. So it was pretty incredible.
And we fell in love with Kaylee so much that we're filing the adoption papers so that she can be our legal child.
It's almost official.
Yeah.
Right. Great. So, I mean, as you were writing it, were you confident that yes, we can actually make this movie during the pandemic?
Yeah, it was kind of born out of those circumstances where, sorry, our dog is chirping away. She wants to get in on this interview. You know, like Zoe said, we were trying to figure out how to process our emotions, and we knew we wanted to put it into something, and we obviously knew kind of what the parameters were and our limitations because of all the COVID restrictions. We knew we had to shoot outside. We knew we had to adhere to all of the city and state health protocols. And I think because everything else was so dark and miserable feeling, I think we really wanted to inject some levity into the story. And we had all of these really funny friends that we knew, some of whom were eager to get out and do something. And so we approached them and said, you know, wherever you're at in this pandemic, if you're interested in playing and stepping out, side, then come on board. And so many of them were so excited to flex, their creative muscles after so long. Some weren't ready, some were scared and hesitant, and we kind of welcomed whatever energy they had and feelings that they had, and said, just incorporate that into the work.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you have this amazing array of guest stars, each of which gets basically one great scene. So we're I mean, Olivia Wilde and Fred Armisen and Helen Hunt and Bradley Whitford and Colin. I mean, were those parts written for them, or did you work everything out with them with those people in mind?
Yeah, all the parts were written specifically for each actor. I think we just, we were obviously so isolated, and we were thinking of the friends that we missed that we would like to see under different circumstances. And I think we just were, making calls and like Daryl said, saying like, we have this character, we have this like specific sort of story that you'll be telling, but like we only need you for half a day, so it was an easier ask in that way, although it was also a complicated ask because for many of our actors, it was their first time being in front of the camera since lockdown, and especially in a comedy, I think, as Daryl was saying, there was some, trepidation around like, can I perform? Can I be funny in this bleak moment? But they could. So I think even for Kaylee and I, like, there were many mornings where we were like, we can't do it. We can't get there. And then we did. And it was like such a nourishing experience, I think, at the end of every day to show ourselves that we could.
Yeah. Right. So Kaylee, how was this different for you? I mean, I assume you didn't have the usual hair and makeup teams or all of that.
Kaylee had a triple wide trailer and like 100.
That doesn't change no matter what project I'm doing.
Her rider is pretty intense.
Yeah.
It was completely different than anything I had ever done. I haven't done anything without a studio. And I mean, it sounds, but true. To get to wake up every single day and have no idea, exactly where there was so much freedom around it. There was so much play that I think it'll change everything I do in the future, because it really was. Zoe and Daryl were continuing to encourage me to just find my inner child and become as free as I can in my body and my voice, and working with the actors that are in this cast. The cast is absolutely bonkers, and every single day it was such a learning experience for me. But I was definitely terrified to do a comedy. I've never done anything like that, and I think it's one of the hardest things you can do as an actor. So I feel so grateful that I had this experience with the pros.
I'll just add that, we were so small in the best sense, and that intimacy, I think, is what fostered such incredible work amongst all the actors, because there normally on a big production, there's like 100 people watching you and, huge setups. And like, it was so, yeah, I guess just intimate is the best word for it, that everybody felt this looseness. And that was kind of what we were trying to create. I mean, in our earlier films, like Breaking Upwards, it was a similar vibe, where you feel like you're just all in it together, and it's all just about the fun of exploring opposite each other, and there's less waiting around. We were really nimble and light on our feet, so we didn't have to wait hours to get things set up, which made it a more performative experience for the actors.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, Zoe and Kaylee, how did you work out your relationship? Because you're basically, Kaylee, you're playing Zoe's inner child, which kind of makes you her, but at the same token, you're an inner child who really has your own personality. So how did you figure out that relationship?
I think it was born before we even decided to do this film. You know, we like I was talking about. We had our. What did you say?
In a past life.
Yeah, yeah. Zoe, you're gonna say something?
No, continue. I mean, what I was going to say was that on the craft, like Kaylee was in many ways playing like a version of my younger self also, and so in that process, we had already been like talking so much about some of this stuff already, and Kaylee was sort of embodying a younger version of me already, and then the conversation just continued, and also we became such close friends, and in that experience we're sort of finding so many similarities between us, even though there's just like a slight age difference. You know, that we had a lot of similar traumas or things that we were hanging on to or trying to work through, and I think it was a lot of those conversations that like, opened us both up in that way. But I don't know if I didn't mean to cut you off, Kaylee.
Oh, no. I was just, you know, when I was asking like, what is this character? What should I be doing? And you were just explaining to me like our walks that we have weekly, that's really what this is, you know, and it was all there. I always think it's funny that my alter ego growing up as a kid was Zoe. I think remember?
Crazy. Yeah. It's crazy.
So it's been meant to be. It's a long time coming. I feel like we definitely were past life sisters or something.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, one of the things I loved about the film is that you don't have exposition to explain the situation at all. We're just in it, and the character is talking about how she's going to die at the end of the day, and we don't know why, and everybody's accepting everything at face value, and you know, within about 15 minutes you've got it. But I love the way it sort of starts out with the audience off balance, because we know we're in a very strange situation, but we really don't know what the details are.
I think that's emblematic of what this last year has been, where you really do have to embrace the unknown, which I think is kind of the larger message of the story, to just come to peace with not knowing and all the kind of uncomfortability that comes with that. You know, I think there's just so many scary circumstances that we've been living through, and you know, trying to overcome that sometimes can feel insurmountable. And so it's like calling it in and trying to process and unpack it, while also just kind of resigning to it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, did you worry about finding the right tone? Because it is, you know, it's a pretty delicate tone to hit this kind of comedy with this setup, and then having it come out at, you know, at this time in our, you know, in our lives.
Yeah. I mean, I think we definitely were cautious around making a film that was like pandemic specific. We wanted to like enter that emotional landscape without it being a mirror of our like actual quarantine times. But I think like Daryl was saying, what we were experiencing was like this strange dichotomy of like the super banal, like in this apocalyptic space of us just like all in sweatpants watching Netflix, but like the world might be ending. And I think we wanted to sort of mine the comedy of that while not denying, you know, how profound we were all being changed. And I think the movies that Daryl and I love to watch are always sort of like tonal shapeshifters in that way, where you can go easily from a really like hard comedy moment to one that is emotionally poignant. And so we always try to do that in our films.
I think we knew pretty early on too that we didn't want this to be 28 Days Later or Contagion, nor did we really have the resources for it to be. And most apocalyptic movies tend to be in that vein. So we thought it would be fun to kind of just go in the opposite direction. And again, have the kind of sublime quality of the film mirror that instinct that I was talking about a second ago, which is this feeling of just kind of having to just kind of let go and just be chill with where you're at, and you're kind of forced to not being able to do anything else. And there is kind of a humor to that, being in that place.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you kind of have the same ending as Melancholia, the Lars von Trier movie, but with a slightly different path to get there.
We called Lars up and asked him about some of those effects that he did with the meteor.
Yeah, we followed all of the Dogma 95 protocols in making this film.
Yeah. So, Kaylee, you said you hadn't really done comedy before. I mean, was this comfortable for you?
I think I got there, hopefully, but I remember the first day was really like a day where we're just gonna let Kaylee figure this out. You guys really let me play. No, I was absolutely terrified to do this, but I was in the best of hands. I knew that they weren't gonna steer me in the wrong direction, and I was really just every day I was making it up as I went. But very difficult for me to get out of my comfort zone, but absolutely fun. I just keep thinking about my walk that I have in the movie. I don't know what happened. Somewhere down the line, I started limping throughout the movie, and
it's because we made you walk so much. When you're making your actors walk like 20 miles a day, they're gonna pull.
Chloe was in heels, so she had it.
I will just say, Kaylee, you're so brilliant in the film, and you're so brilliant in general. But it was so fun to go from making the craft together, which was totally so different, to making something this irreverent, and to seeing, just the versatility that Kaylee can embody is just so exciting. And yeah, just like her physicality, and I think being able to play in this totally different space was just so much fun.
Yeah. I do have to mention that walking, because you do spend the whole movie walking, and I live in LA. I sort of know where you are at most times, and I'm thinking they walked a hell of a long way in one day on heels.
Yeah. I was cursing like the day that I chose to wear those heels, which was day one, obviously, and then like every day thereafter, I was like, what the fuck was I thinking? No, the map is not technically walkable.
Yeah.
If you're gonna follow it. But we did cover a lot of LA ground, which I think we wanted to just sort of showcase really this like time capsule of a moment where the streets of LA were so empty, and it was so surreal to be a part of.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a terrific movie. I mean, I had a lot of fun with it, but it goes well beyond that. So, congratulations on the film, and thanks for coming in and talking about it.
Thank you
so much.
Steve.
Thank you.
It was so great. It's a wrap.